Hey guys, Brian here. A couple things I want to talk about today. The bulk of the video is going to be about some of the sort of recent controversies in sorcery. I especially want to take up the claim that Eric's Curiosa, EC, after this, should be doing a better job of marketing, should be doing a better job of distribution. I just want to kind of give my 2 cents on that. Prepared for people to disagree with me. Go ahead and hop down into the comments. I'm going to discuss that second, though. The first thing I want to mention real quick is GenCon. I will be at GenCon, so if you see me, come over, say hi. You'd make my day. I'm really tall, not hard to find. I'm going to be at the constructed tournament all day Saturday, so you can see me there. I'll be around Thursday through Sunday. I'm also going to be making like a little sorcery recap video. Not little, hopefully big, but sorcery recap video. It's just going to be like 20-30 second bites of different people that I'll kind of film over the course of the weekend, just giving their little blurb on a good memory they had of sorcery at GenCon 2026. I'm going to stitch it all together. I'm trying to get as many other like YouTube content creator people that I can into that, but I'm going to be, the general public, especially if you've got something good to share. I'd love to record you at Gen Con and get you into that video. Okay, with that out of the way, I want to take up a little bit of a defense of some of the more persistent online claims against EC or sort of against sorcery. The big two being marketing and distribution, especially marketing. So you see all the time online comments, EC needs to be doing a better job of marketing. If sorcery was marketed better, it'd be doing better. So I think the first thing I want to mention is maybe just because I'm super guilty of this all the time too. It's a realization I've had about myself a couple times, but I think there's this very human instinct to when we find out about a new cool thing, and we didn't find, and other people found out about it first, we feel a little robbed. And what we feel, very human emotion, is I wish somebody would have told me sooner. I wish I would have known sooner. I feel robbed of not knowing that sorcery existed sooner. And instead of expressing that emotion healthily, it comes out as EC needs to be marketing better. It's their fault. It's very satisfying to blame other people, to put the to say, oh, I have this problem. This thing made me feel bad, and I'm going to place the blame elsewhere because it's a quick and easy fix. I'm not saying that's what all of the criticism is by any means. I think a lot of it's perfectly reasonable, but that's definitely a big piece of what's going on, I think. And so maybe just, self gut check. Is that what's going on with you? Are you reasonably and understandably sad that you didn't know about it sooner and wishing somebody would have told you? And because that's everybody feels that way, especially about something as incredible as sorcery, where, it's this totally unique thing. And if sorcery is your thing, if this is your thing, there's nothing else like it. And so you feel like, sorcery kind of feels like home for a lot of people in the TCG space where nothing else does. It satisfies a thing that nothing else satisfies. Okay, so that's kind of the human component of it. From a business perspective, if we want to do a little bit of a deeper dive, we can look at that. So, I have a business degree over 10 years ago, so take all this with a huge grain of salt. I know enough of what I'm talking about to know that I don't know what I'm talking about, but I'm going to share my thoughts anyway. So when a company's considering marketing, one of the big questions is going to be ROI, return on investment. How long is it going to take for the money I invest in this marketing to produce an increase in profit, not revenue, but profit, equal to the amount I invested in the marketing in the first place? So the first thing I want to point out is it's not super obvious to me where a trading card game could spend advertising dollars that don't have an ROI of infinity. I've been playing Magic I have been playing Magic for 15, 20 years. Played a lot of other card games. I have a lot of Gundam and Riftbound. I can't say I've ever seen an advertisement for Gundam or Riftbound. I can't, other than maybe Jace Bellerin being on the box of Hot Pockets at one point. I don't know that I've ever seen an advertisement for Magic the Gathering, really. Now they're out there for sure, especially with Magic the Gathering. They do spend money on marketing, and those ads are out there. But I don't think it's as obvious as, you can't buy. It's such a niche market, especially Sorcery. You're talking about a niche within a niche within a niche. You can't buy TV and radio ads. You can't buy a billboard backstop at Fenway Park. You can't. I mean, there's just so many things that it doesn't make sense. It's not obvious to me that there's a way to really target effectively the target demographic for a game as niche as Sorcery, and I think that's okay. There are a lot of brands actually that don't do any marketing. Now they tend to be almost exclusively they are privately owned companies, which EC is as well. And a big part of that is as soon as you're publicly traded, you have shareholders to answer to, and shareholders want growth for the sake of growth always. That's what they want, and if you're the CEO, you have a fiduciary duty. You have a legal and moral duty to give the shareholders that growth. At the expense many times of quality, at the expense of longevity of the company, both in terms of goodwill and in terms of capital that can help sustain the company in downtimes. And so I don't think it's entirely unreasonable for EC to make the business decision. I guess what I'm saying is I don't think EC hasn't thought about marketing. I think most likely they have sat down and thought and talked about marketing quite a bit, and the conclusion they have come to is that whatever money it would take to try and effectively market to their target demographic, which is not an obvious thing to do, not an obvious solution to that problem, that money would be better spent either making a higher quality product or investing in the future and longevity of the company. TCGs are volatile is putting it nicely. They go out of business is what they do. By and large, trading card games go out of business. That's what 95% of trading card games do, is go out of business. You have Magic, Pokemon, and Yu-Gi-Oh, and everything else is a bit of a wash. And we're kind of spoiled right now. We're living in a golden age of TCGs where it just feels like there's all this momentum and everything's going up all the time, but it hasn't always been this way, and it won't always be this way. I can't for sure say, don't know when it's going to end, don't know what games are going to make it and what games aren't, but it's certainly not obvious that the current demand and market for TCGs is going to continue the way it has. And so what I see in EC's decision to not spend more money on marketing is an emphasis on maintaining the quality of the product, and it is the best quality product, I think, on the TCG market. Not even in question, nothing to compare it to, in my opinion. And that is niche, in the same way that my favorite band is going to be very niche, or your favorite band is going to be very niche. But for the people whose favorite band that band matters incredibly in the same way that it does for Sorcery and its fans. So I think what Eric Scuriosa is prioritizing here is longevity of the company, is quality of the product, and I think those are the things, if we really think about it, what do we want from Eric Scuriosa? Do we want growth for the sake of growth? Do we want growth for the sake of growth, or do we want quality and longevity from this game that we love? Another analogy I was thinking of was like your favorite local restaurant, a mom and pop, right? You could very easily make the argument that, like, oh man, this is the best burger place ever. If only they would expand, if only they would franchise. But you have to know, everybody knows, the second they franchise, the quality is going to go down, the cost is going to go up, everything's going to get worse. So do you really want that burger place to franchise? No. What you want is something impossible. What you want is for that burger place to be as good as it is as a local mom and pop, but everywhere. And that's not a tangible reality. That's not a graspable, I'm inventing words now. That's not a goal that can, I think, reasonably be hoped for. In the same way, I think we need to be careful in what we ask and expect of an indie card game company trying to navigate incredibly treacherous waters. I would rather see the game last than see it grow. And I can talk more about that later, maybe in another video, but because there's some different branches you could go there. Because there's good examples of games in both directions. There's some games with pretty decent longevity that haven't grown a lot. There's games, obviously, everybody can think of games that have boomed and bust. So that's kind of that. Moving on to distribution, I want to start with an anecdote. So I live in a really remote area. If you look at an Eric Scuriosa's store locator for Sorcery, I live right in the middle of the biggest gap in the lower 48. So I'm as far away as you can get from a sorcery store or a sorcery community. Now that said, I've traveled in kind of all directions. Well, not south, but west, north, and east. And what I've found is tells an interesting tale for distribution. Most recently, I traveled east and I ran across a couple sister stores. Same company, same owners. They were just in towns that are about 20-25 minutes apart. And these stores both carried Sorcery, and they both show up on the EC store locator. But when I talked to the employees about it, and this is not a one-off here, this is, west, north, east, all pretty common, unfortunately. The employees or owners at the stores were, shall we say, not optimistic, or they just didn't have a lot of nice things to say about Sorcery. And I think a big part of that is, they had product that wasn't moving. I scooped up I got some Gothic boxes, these two bad boys right here, for $130, and they were happy to let go of them. And this was less than a month ago, which is crazy. And I even told them at the time, I said, hey, I'm robbing you guys blind here. This is, MSRP is 166, and the market rate's a little higher than that right now, but they were happy to be rid of the stock. So I don't think the distribution issue is as simple as putting more product into the hands of distribution. When you're looking at a retail landscape of, it's hard enough to get stores to carry Sorcery because of the one set a year philosophy, which I think is great, but it is a tough selling point for stores to carry your product. It's going to be impossible to get stores to carry your product if every set is below MSRP for a long period of time after it comes out. Unfortunately, like Arthurian Legends was. And I love that set. I love the setting. Arthurian Legends, probably my favorite setting of all time. I grew up, one of my favorite authors growing up was Bernard Cornwell. And he had a lot of different series, but my favorite one was Grail Quest, Knights of King Arthur. And that whole world has had a super lasting impact on me. I love Arthurian Legends. I love what EC did with Arthurian Legends. I love all of the cards. I love the artwork, the art direction. I love it all. But if you're a store, Arthurian Legends hurt. If you bought any appreciable amount of it, the market price being below MSRP for so long hurt. And if I'm a store owner, what's the argument for buying into Gothic, not knowing obviously what a success Gothic would be after the fact? And if I don't have the passion, if I don't have the passion and faith for the game that the community does, that's a tough sell to an LGS. I don't think dumping product on the market is obviously the best move from that perspective. I also think it's dicey. It's hard to guess what demand is going to be. Gothic has been a huge breakout success. I think it probably overshot EC's estimations. If I had to speculate also, something I've been considering on the timeline of all this is, even if, let's say EC looked at the numbers in January, February, maybe even December of last year, shortly after Gothic came out, and they looked at the numbers and they came to the conclusion that, hey, we need a reprint. We're going to need more of this product. it's I'm not sure that we would have that product by now. Even if they pulled the plug, you know, crossed the Alps, put all their chips down, said we're ordering another print run of Gothic. You got to wait for time at printers in an environment where every TCG is trying to print more cards. The Gothic boxes themselves are totally unique magnetic boxes that manufacturers may not be tooled up for. They might have to wait their turn for the specific manufacturer that can manufacture Gothic boxes. I think it would be an absolute tragedy if they reprinted Gothic boxes and they were not the same magnetic, sturdy quality boxes that we're used to for Gothic now. I think that would be a tragedy. And so, you know, even if they got the print space and the print time, they got to put them on a barge. That's got to cross the ocean, which can take months. I think even if they made that decision in January or February, we might not have the boxes yet. They might be coming. I think it's probably a lot harder to run an indie TCG company than any of us would like to admit. The moves I see from Eris Curiosa, trying to give them the benefit of the doubt, are all, and this goes both for marketing and for product distribution, are all for the sake of the quality and longevity of the game. Now, I should have said this earlier, I should have said this at the top. Everything I'm saying here really only applies to North America. It seems like the international community really has gotten hosed. I know that Reddit post months ago about the situation in Brazil is awful. Europe seems to be really struggling. It's tough. But I would say, I think it's good. I think it's good to make noise, and it would always be nice to have more transparency. I get the inclination to ask for that, but I think there are going to be more things going on in the background than any of us understand. And my hope with this video is that maybe I can make enough sane cases for different edge things and just some variables people might not have considered yet, that maybe we can all calm down a little bit. Remember that the reason we're all here is because we love this game. The reason that we want to complain is because we love this game and we want it to be the best it can be. I think that's the reality behind all of these complaints is really they probably come from a place of love, but they're coming out in a more hurtful, unproductive way than they probably could be. So that's, I think, all I have to say for today. Love to hear more from you in the comments. I'm sure as soon as I stop recording this, I'm going to wish I had added a couple more things, so I may add them in the comments. But until then, hope to see you at GenCon. Please say hi, and have a great rest of your day.